Hey guys, welcome back to the Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is Prorevenge story. This is the story of how I got screwed over by a Tire Kingdom store and got my revenge. The manager had that classic Karen haircut, the asymmetrical bob with chunky highlights, and the attitude to match. But I still managed to get what was rightfully mine. Around 7,000 miles ago in January 2025, I took my Honda Pilot that desperately needed new tires to Tire Kingdom. I was a bit short on cash, so I went there because I had their store credit card from previous purchases. Everyone in town knows their routine. Bring your car in for one thing, and they'll magically find 5 other problems that need fixing. I wish someone had warned me earlier. I walked in and the manager herself helped me price out tires. My Pilot has 20-inch rims, so the tires aren't cheap, but I was using credit, so I wasn't too worried. I picked out some premium tires rated for 70,000 miles. I'd like these installed and an alignment done afterward, I told her. We'll take care of that for you, she said with a practiced smile. Have a seat in our waiting area. I was scrolling through my phone when a mechanic, his uniform stained with grease and oil, came bustling into the lobby. "Who's got the Honda Pilot?" he called out. "That's mine," I replied. He shook his head dramatically. "We started the alignment check and found some serious issues. Your control arms are shot and you need new tie rods all around. Looking at about $1,500 for parts and labor. Want us to handle that?" My jaw nearly hit the floor. "No, absolutely not. Can't do an alignment with bad parts," he said, shrugging. "Just give me my keys then," I replied. While I was signing the final paperwork, the manager kept pushing. "Those bad parts will destroy your new tires," she insisted, leaning over the counter. "We're just trying to protect your investment." My friend Jake, who worked there part-time, pulled me aside as I was leaving. "Those parts are showing some wear," he whispered, "but they don't need replacement yet. They're just trying to pad the bill." Fast forward to July 2025. The inside of my rear tires were completely bald, and the front ones had lost half their tread. I was still making payments on them, and there was this awful droning noise when I drove from the uneven wear. I finally had enough money saved up to fix whatever was actually wrong, so I went to my trusted mechanic, Mike. "Check everything they said was bad," I told him. "I want to know what's really going on." 3 hours later, my phone rang. "Hey, got your car up on the lift," Mike said. "Only issue I found was a sticky brake caliper on the right rear. Everything else looks fine." "So no bad suspension parts?" "Nope. Suspension's solid. You just needed an alignment. Badly." "Can you replace that caliper?" "Already on it. Hey, take it to downtown Honda after this. Their alignment shop is top-notch and they won't try to scam you." I was fuming when I heard this. I called Tire Kingdom and got the same manager. The conversation was brief but infuriating. "Well," she said condescendingly, "your mechanic probably doesn't have our laser alignment equipment. He can't possibly make an accurate assessment." She went on for 5 minutes, using technical terms I'm sure she'd just learned, trying to make me feel stupid. "Just have your mechanic replace those parts, then bring it back to us for alignment," she finished smugly. I took it to downtown Honda instead. The service advisor listened to my story, shook his head, and did the alignment without any drama. It was even cheaper than Tire Kingdom's quote. The next evening, I pulled into my driveway after work and saw the Honda dealership alignment report on my passenger seat. Something snapped inside me. I backed out of my driveway and headed straight for Tire Kingdom. I called my mom on the way. She'd been hearing about this mess for months. "Mom, I'm about to go raise hell," I told her. "Want to listen in?" "Oh, absolutely," she said excitedly. I kept my Bluetooth earbuds around my neck so she could hear everything. The store was packed, at least 8 customers browsing tires or waiting for their cars. Perfect. "Can I help you?" a young employee asked as I approached the counter. I ignored her, locking eyes with the manager. "Are you still the manager here?" "Yes, I am," she replied, finishing up with another customer. "Great. We spoke on the phone recently about my Pilot." "Your name?" she asked, clearly not remembering me. I stated my name while her employee pulled up my file. Then I started my story, making sure my voice carried across the showroom. "When I came in here, you refused to do an alignment because of supposedly bad parts." "We can't align vehicles with bad," she started. "Please let me finish." I cut her off firmly. "You wanted $1,500 for repairs before doing my alignment. That's a lot of money, so I left to save up. Well, I just had my regular mechanic look at it, and guess what? Nothing was wrong with those parts." I pulled out the Honda dealership alignment report. "See this? My rear left tire was cambered out negative 2.3 degrees. That's why my tires wore unevenly. Not because of bad parts. Because they needed an alignment that you refused to do." Her face went pale. Let me speak with my technician. She disappeared into the shop for 10 minutes. I watched through the windows as they examined my car. When she came back, she had a completely different attitude. I am so sorry, she said, voice dripping with fake sincerity. There were 2 pilots in that day, and our technician mixed up the work orders. Your vehicle was never even put on the alignment rack. I'll replace 2 of your tires for free and refund the rack fee. I accepted the offer but wasn't satisfied. That evening, I wrote a detailed Google review explaining everything. A week later, my phone rang. I noticed your Google review, her voicemail said. Please call me back so we can make this right. When I returned her call, she sounded desperate. I thought we resolved everything with the free tires, she said. Why would you leave such a negative review? Because only replacing 2 tires doesn't solve the problem, I explained. The other 2 are still wearing unevenly, and they should all have matched in the first place. If I give you 2 more free tires, will you modify the review? She pleaded. We really don't want corporate getting involved, and that review could seriously hurt our business. Once the tires are on my car, I'll update it, I agreed. Come in tomorrow. I'll have them ready. The next day, I couldn't stop grinning while signing the paperwork for my second set of free tires. The assistant manager even threw in a complimentary oil change for my trouble. We hope you'll continue to shop with us, she said hopefully. I laughed. Thanks, but I wouldn't buy tires here again if you paid me to. I did update my review from 1 star to 3 stars, mentioning how they eventually made things right. As I left with my complete set of free tires and oil change voucher, I couldn't help but think about how being a Karen sometimes means dealing with an even bigger Karen. The next one is an entitled people story. It was a Tuesday evening in April. Nothing special about the day, just another weeknight with me, my wife Helen, and our 11-month-old daughter Emma. We'd just finished dinner, and I was cleaning up the kitchen while Helen gave Emma a bath. Our nightly routine, nothing out of the ordinary. Around 8:30 p.m., Emma was already in her pajamas, playing on a blanket in the living room. Helen and I were watching some forgettable reality show, half paying attention while Emma babbled and played with her favorite stuffed rabbit. It was peaceful. Normal. Then came the sound that changed everything, a massive bang against our front door that made the walls shake. Before I could even process what was happening, the door flew open with such force that it splintered the frame. Police! Get down! Get down! Men in tactical gear with rifles stormed into our home. I couldn't count how many. Maybe 6 or 7 officers. I was frozen in shock for a split second before I instinctively moved toward Emma. But before I could reach her, something sailed through the air and landed directly in our living room, just a few feet from where Emma was playing. The flashbang exploded with a deafening boom and blinding light. I heard Emma's terrified screams through the ringing in my ears. Helen was screaming too. I was being forced down onto the floor, my face pressed against the carpet, unable to see what was happening to my baby. My daughter, please, my baby is right there, she's hurt! I kept shouting, but they weren't listening. An officer had his knee in my back, zip-tying my hands behind me. Through the chaos, I could hear Helen pleading, please, our baby, she's hurt. Let me help her. It felt like an eternity before they finally acknowledged Emma, who was wailing in pain. The flashbang had landed close enough to cause burns on her arms and face. My beautiful baby girl burned and traumatized, and I couldn't do anything to help her. It took about 15 minutes of us repeatedly telling them they had the wrong house before someone finally radioed in to confirm the address. That's when the mood changed. The officer who had been standing over me suddenly became very quiet. Another one was on his radio, speaking in hushed tones. What's the address here? One of them finally asked. 1487 Oakwood Drive, I said through gritted teeth. There was a pause. The warrant is for 1847 Oakwood Drive. They had transposed the numbers. They had the completely wrong house. They flashbanged my baby girl for nothing. The zip ties were cut, and suddenly everyone was apologetic. They called an ambulance for Emma, tried to help Helen comfort her, but the damage was done. My little girl had second-degree burns on her right arm and the side of her face. She was terrified, in pain, and wouldn't stop crying. At the hospital, while the doctors treated Emma, a police sergeant came to explain what had happened. Apparently, they were executing a high-risk warrant for a suspected drug dealer. They had intelligence that the suspect was armed and dangerous. And somehow, in all their planning and preparation, no one had double-checked the address. These things happen, he said. We're very sorry for the confusion. Confusion? They threw an explosive device at my baby and called it confusion. I was livid. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits, sleepless nights with a traumatized baby who now woke up screaming at the slightest noise, and meetings with lawyers. We couldn't stay in that house. Emma would cry uncontrollably every time we tried to take her into the living room. We ended up moving in with Helen's parents temporarily while we figured out what to do. I called every lawyer in the city until I found one who specialized in police misconduct cases. His name was David Mendelsohn, and when I told him what happened, he was outraged. "This is exactly the kind of case that needs to be pursued," he told me. "Not just for your family, but to prevent this from happening to someone else." The legal process was frustratingly slow. The police department initially offered a settlement that wouldn't even cover Emma's medical bills, let alone the psychological treatment she would need or the trauma we'd all experienced. They seemed to think this was just an unfortunate accident, not a catastrophic failure of protocol that had permanently scarred my child. David advised us to reject their offer and file a federal civil rights lawsuit. "They violated your Fourth Amendment rights with an unlawful search and used excessive force in the process," he explained, "and they injured a baby through their negligence. We have a strong case." The lawsuit detailed everything: the failure to verify the address, the unnecessary use of a flashbang in a home where there was likely to be a family present, the excessive force used against me and Helen when we posed no threat, and, of course, the injuries to Emma. We asked for damages to cover Emma's medical expenses, future treatment, pain and suffering, and punitive damages to discourage the department from making similar mistakes in the future. The police department's lawyers fought back hard. They argued that the officers had qualified immunity, that they were acting in good faith on what they believed was a valid warrant. They tried to minimize Emma's injuries, suggesting that the psychological impact wasn't as severe as we claimed. But we had evidence on our side. Hospital records documented Emma's burns. Our pediatrician and a child psychologist both testified about the trauma she had experienced. We even had body camera footage from the officers, which clearly showed the chaos of the raid and the moment the flashbang landed near Emma. The case dragged on for 14 months. During that time, Emma slowly healed physically, though she still had visible scarring on her arm. The psychological healing was slower. Loud noises still made her freeze in terror. She had nightmares. We were all in therapy. The turning point came when local media got hold of the body camera footage. The public outrage was immediate and intense. Suddenly, the police department was facing not just our lawsuit, but a PR disaster. The image of a baby being injured by police negligence struck a chord with people across the political spectrum. Within weeks of the footage being released, the department's lawyers reached out to settle. Their new offer was substantial: $1.2 million for Emma's injuries and our trauma, plus a commitment to review and reform their raid protocols, particularly regarding address verification and the use of flashbangs in residential areas. David advised us to accept. "This is a good offer," he said, "and the policy changes might prevent another family from going through what you did." We agreed. The money would ensure that Emma would have the best care possible as she grew up, and the policy changes gave some meaning to our suffering. Last month, almost 2 years after the raid, the settlement was finally approved by a judge. The police department issued a public apology, and the chief announced that they had implemented new protocols for verifying addresses and assessing the need for tactical entries. They've also restricted the use of flashbangs in homes where children might be present. Emma is 3 now. The scars on her arm have faded to pink lines, but they'll always be there. She's still wary of loud noises and strangers, especially men in uniform. I don't know if those psychological scars will ever fully heal. We've moved to a new city, a fresh start away from the memories. We're using some of the settlement money to buy a house in a quiet neighborhood with good schools. Emma will have the best therapists, the best doctors, every advantage we can give her to overcome this traumatic start to her life. I still get angry when I think about that night. One simple mistake, transposing 2 numbers in an address, changed our lives forever. The carelessness of it all is what gets me. How hard would it have been to double-check? To look at the house and realize a family lived there, not a drug dealer? If there's any silver lining to this nightmare, it's that the police department has actually implemented changes. The officer who threw the flashbang was disciplined, though not fired. The commanding officer who failed to verify the address was demoted, and hopefully the new protocols will prevent another family from experiencing what we did. But that doesn't erase what happened to my baby girl. It doesn't take away her scars or her fear. It doesn't give us back those peaceful, ordinary days before we knew what it was like to have our home violated and our child injured by the people who were supposed to protect us. All I can do now is focus on the future, on giving Emma the best life possible, and hope that by sharing our story, maybe another family will be spared this pain. The next one is a malicious compliance story. So, I work at a large company, Fortune 50 company, but like everywhere, management comes up with one-size-fits-none metrics. The latest was revealed to us by our manager, who surprisingly is the hero of this story. It has always been the metric that if you fell below 70% of your quota on a quota-eligible role, you risk being put on a performance review plan. It is also well known that anyone getting on a PRP is pretty much toast. Either you get fired for failing the PRP, or you are first on the next layoff list, and usually they replace you with a newbie fresh out of college in one of the lower two bands. My particular team is made up of all senior people. Every one of us is in one of the top 2 skill grades, so we know we are a target, which is insane, as all of us engage the C-suite at other very large Fortune 500 companies and act as trusted adviers. We cannot be replaced by a new grad with intern-level performance. So our intrepid hero, my boss, is pulled into a 2-day seminar about 2 months ago that goes all the way to the general manager of Sales Americas. Several senior HR managers are there too. It is a rare in-person meeting, so people are cautious, but at least they know it is not a mass layoff kind of deal, as the first day is about the path forward and how important our division is to the company strategy. They go on about how our division is the front line of expanding sales in our partner program to take it from 60% of revenue to 85% of revenue, with 75% of new growth expected to come from the partner channels. The company absolute is relying on our division and our skilled staff to deliver on that goal. The second day is different, however. In the afternoon, they lay out the new plan for technical sellers, 80% attainment per year and backdating 2 years. It is a rare in-person meeting, so people are cautious, but my manager goes into I am just asking questions mode. So let me understand, if last year they hit 100% attainment and 75% of the team did, but the previous year they hit 79%, then they are on a PRP? HR hems and haws? Well, yes, that is how it would work. I see. And there is no exceptions? The GM speaks up. That's correct. Everyone must be a top performer. No exceptions. My manager starts gathering his things up. Would you mind if I skip the rest of the day? I have a lot of work to do, apparently. The GM looks at him. Well, no. We have more to cover. What is so urgent? He looks at the GM and maliciously complies with the stated metrics. Based on the metrics and the no exceptions rule, I have to prepare PRPs for my entire team. No exceptions. I will need to start the open head count to hire replacements for everyone too. The GM looks confused, attempting to digest this new information. Most of the rest of the managers stick their hands up. We need to go too. We need to write up PRPs for all our people too, and submit open head counts. A quick count shows that 80% of our division would be on a PRP. Given the failure rate, that means about 70% of the team will be fired, 10% will be laid off, and 20% will remain. For the growth strategy of the company, the tip of the spear in partner sales. My boss points out that retention of personnel and reduced turnover is part of the roll-up objectives, as well as attainment of his reports. That means he will be PRP'd, as will his manager and her manager, all the way up the chain. No exceptions. The meeting wraps up after the discussion dies down, and the GM says they are not implementing this now, but in a few months. In those 2 months, there are more online meetings, questions asked, more data pulled from the HR systems, meetings with HR and legal, who is now very interested in this plan of theirs. Culminating in a meeting this last Monday where the revised plan is revealed. A new exceptions plan has been put in place at the insistence of the legal department. Gone is the informal, put together a package to be evaluated for an optional exception for your employee. Now, there is a set of formal exceptions that cover a number of categories. Legal ones like taking family leave or medical short-term disability in the last 3, and functional ones like having been moved between departments or job titles or having a non-quota designation in the last 2 years, if the quota plan changed significantly or had a metric with no previous history to set the target. There is 10 or 12 categories, depending if you count the overlaps. An exception resets the timer to the next calendar year. So if someone qualifies in January, they are off the hook until next January. Turns out everyone in the division now qualifies for one or more of those exceptions. Imagine that. Epilogue. Turns out HR did not do an analysis of how many people would be impacted in our division, as the numbers were done worldwide over 100K employees with quota, not by department. Their number said 11% of us would end up on PRPs. Let's not get into how they are trying to reduce headcount by driving people into leaving or retiring early. Also, when legal found out they were backdating the requirement, they went ballistic. Legal also went spare when they saw no exceptions for federally protected leave like family or medical disability. Gotta love my boss, he looks out for us, often by maliciously complying with stupid requirements. The next one is an entitled people story. Hey everyone, my name is Alice, 32F, and I saw that people were posting their traumas here, so I figured that maybe this story would get a chuckle or a feeling of karmic retribution for others. I wanted to share a story from when I was a part-time employee of this small warehouse store back during the last few years of high school, and this Karen that proved no matter how old you are, you can still be an a-hole. For context, this was back during 2011, and I was 18 at the time and was part of a program that was home to all of the bored almost adults looking to make some extra scratch. With my high school credits basically already done, I was also looking to make money early while not having to go home due to being alone. And luckily, the program got me into a stocking job as a place that starts with smart and ends rhyming with the word spinal. This was my last year of high school and I had saved up a pretty little nest egg, not to mention working there was a breeze, if not labor-intensive, due to my coworkers being not only understanding but one great big close-knit community who welcomed me with open arms. Even my manager, who surprisingly started managing the place only 2 weeks before I started, got along great with me, so I had never felt unsafe there. At least, until Karen happened. Allow me to explain how it all went down. It was in the middle of my shift in the summer. A time when I was thankful to be inside a warehouse with working AC. I was stocking the cans at the time. I think they were the chili cans, when I noticed this seemingly sweet old lady hobbling over to me. Walker and all. I'm talking exact stereotype. Gray granny fro, wrinkles everywhere, the whole 9 yards, pushing along her walker with some life in her legs, so it wasn't exactly slow. Being the weird type of person who actually liked helping customers, I waited to see if she needed help. And sure enough, she hailed me down and asked, "Excuse me, young lady, I think there's something wrong with the prices on your bread. Is the sale still going on?" I was confused, as any sales we had at the time were for products that cooled you down. Ice pops, G-Aid, stuff like that. But I chalked it up to an honest mistake or something I had missed. So I answered to her in my usual customer service voice, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. That must be a mistake on our end. May I see the ad for the price that you saw?" She handed me an extremely old ad, dusty and almost crumbling in my hands. The pictures were washed out and the prices were rock bottom like it had never seen a Great Depression in its life. I figured it was some kind of mistake, or the lady maybe had some memory problems, something honest and simple, which led me to show her how the ad was from years ago and how we didn't have that price anymore. "Oh," she said. "Well, since it's listed here, can I have the bread for that price?" That was my first sign of weirdness. "No, ma'am, I cannot lower the price of bread for that much, even if I had power over the prices. But I can show you a bread like this that's cheap." "No, you'll lower the price of the bread for me. Won't you, dear?" I froze for a moment, as the nice old lady was starting to become more and more assertive, guaranteed to have her way. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I cannot." She immediately interrupted me again. "I don't think you heard me. I am old, and this is your price. You will be giving me this price. It's in your ad. It doesn't matter how old the ad is. This is the price. So you are going to give me that price." Still holding fast onto my morals, I proceeded to continue to be nice as best I could, hoping the difference would make her come down to my level. "Ma'am, I cannot reprice the bread that low, or else I would have to give other customers the same treatment." This made the old bag increasingly more angry. "Now you look here, you stupid child. I am an old woman. I do not deserve this kind of ease, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I have lived much longer than you, and I know what is right. So you are going to put it to this price. You are going to make it correct. You are going to sell me what I want, how I want it, because I am a customer. And you will not do a single thing about it because I am an old lady and no one is going to believe you. So shut up, do your job, and give me my groceries or else." That was the last straw for me. So many things I wanted to say to this old woman, but I kept my tongue in check for fear of a write-up and simply called on my walkie-talkie, "Manager's price check in aisle 8. My manager comes along, and long story short, she tells the woman exactly what I do after the old woman tries her spiel again. But my boss doesn't buy it and promptly tells the woman that if she dislikes the price, she does not have to spend her money there. This ticked the old woman off, who proceeded to start dumping cans down the aisle, and then made a break for her car in a fit of rage. We didn't get her license at the time. Yes, at the time. Because she came back again to try this on me again. The same ad, the same ask. I figured she either forgot who I was and thought I was a new hire, or wanted to keep pestering me until I broke. So when I told her once again, "Ma'am, I cannot put the price down for you. That is an old ad. Also, you are not welcome in this store anymore as my manager has banned you from it. We have your picture on the security cameras and pasted it near the cashiers. Please leave the store and shop elsewhere." She was fuming. But she didn't do anything. She just walked out, huffing and puffing, but no tantrum, just out the doors. This made me have a sinking feeling in my stomach, so I called it in over the walkie-talkies to my manager. She immediately hopped on cameras just in case to make me feel better and even transferred me over to cashier so I can have a more mind-focused work and take my head out of the incident. Sadly, it still doesn't end there. I still remember it. The weird thumping of army boots as 5 absolutely jacked men walked right up to me and surrounded me at the cashier's stand, causing me to go from worried to scared out of my mind, staring down men twice my size and weight, looking like they could snap me in half with their bare hands, bombarding me with questions like, "Why are you treating my grandma like that, huh? She's just an old lady. You need to show some effing respect. How would you like it if I put you in a walker? See how you feel like it." And all manner of similar threats. It was all I could do to just stand there and whimper, trying not to cry. Thank God for my manager on cams who immediately pulled the silent alarm as soon as she saw me surrounded. Our security guy came running, trying to de-escalate the situation, but due to their numbers advantage, they took that as some kind of challenge. Roaming the aisles, pushing them down, and crashing all manner of product onto the floor no matter who or was on the other side. A lot of people got hurt, but not too bad, thank God. Still, one of them kept pestering me, leaning closer and closer as he kept verbally assaulting me and getting angrier by the minute, causing me to contemplate making a break for it. I didn't need to make a choice as officers arrived on the scene, which finally made the buffed-out guys try to run for it. A sigh of relief came over me as I saw the boys in blue handcuff and tase as many as they could before a majority of them ran out the emergency exit and supposedly into the old lady's car. My manager immediately went to hug me as I broke down crying, still afraid but a lot more secure thanks to the event being over. At least enough to make an official statement to the police. My manager insisted I take the day off and the next day too, but I wanted to keep working at least on the next day so I didn't lose my perfect attendance record and some extra cash to keep building up my wallet. Good thing I did because the cops showed up that day and informed my manager that the people who sped away were not only caught, but were a family that did this all around LA County, going to small businesses, liquor stores, and shops to try and get discounts on items to resell them elsewhere. And any place that didn't comply got visited by the Brick House brothers. But because of their violent tendency, they knew exactly which stores to charge them with and readily did so. That was the biggest relief to me that also made me laugh in karma. Sadly, the store let me go, much to my manager's dismay, due to downsizing from the higher-ups, but I will always cherish that place. And I will never forget the old Karen who got arrested because of bread prices. It's a story I tell my friends all the time, so I hope it will bring a laugh to you as well. Anyway,